Hello, we'll continue with the same chapter planning explanation part 2. In this, we will be discussing about the limitations of planning process, types of plans, single-use plans and standing plan. So, first, let us start with the limitations of planning. So, under the limitations of planning, there are 6 points. Now, let us go in detail. The first one is planning leads to rigidity. So, planning leads to rigidity means it makes it difficult to make any changes in the plan, and also it does not permit any new ways of doing once the plans are already implemented. Or you can say, once the plans are made for the future, then it is difficult for the managers as they may not be in a position to change them. So during such circumstances, the changes may not bring a positive result for the organization. So this kind of rigidity in plans may create difficulties. And the second one is planning may not work in a dynamic environment. Means plans may fail due to certain changes that takes place in the environment, or you can also say due to the external limitations of planning. That I will be telling you. Business environment usually they are very dynamic as they are continuously changes taking place in economic, political and legal environment. So it becomes very difficult to forecast such future changes. So because of that, plans may fail in the changes that are very frequent. Okay. Likewise, there may be certain changes in the political issue, legal environment, because the rules and regulations they keep changing, given by the laws. Economic, sometimes there is a inflations of economic, increasing and decreasing of the inflations. So because of that, planning tend to fail due to the changes that takes place. Okay, and another one is it reduces creativity. So because of that, when the planning with the planning, the managers of the organizations they start working rigidly and they become the blind followers of the plan only because planning are mostly done by the top level management. Usually the rest of the members they just implement these plans. Like I always tell you, when the decisions are taken, it is mainly taken by the top level management and the remaining they just need to follow the orders. So as a consequences, the middle management and other decision makers are neither allowed to deviate from plans or not they are permitted to act on their own, because they don't have the freedom to make their own decisions. Whatever the decisions are given by the higher authority, everyone need to follow the orders. So thus much of the initiatives or creativity they inherited them also, and there is a lost or reduced. So most of the time the employees they do not even attempt to formulate the plans. They only carry out the orders, means they only follow the orders. So thus planning is a way reduces creativity, since people they tend to think along the same lines as others. So there is nothing new or innovations, because this is also we can say it's a kind of a disadvantage, because like I told you, only the just because they are in the higher authority doesn't mean that they can make the right decisions. Everything whatever they do, whatever they implement, that is correct. Sometimes employees also they might come up with a greater views than the top levels. So that is why we need to give a chance to the employees also. And the fourth one is planning involves huge cost, because spending more amount on planning, more expenses is gathering informations. Or you can also say planning process involves lot of expenses, because it is an intellectual process. And what the company do is, the companies, they need to hire the professional experts to carry on such process. So that is why, along with the salary of the experts, the company, they have to spend a lot of time and money to collect the uh, right facts, or the accurate facts and figures. So it is a time consuming as well as a cost consuming process. So if the benefits of planning are not more than its cost, then it should not be carried on, because planning takes a lot of time and lot of money. It is one of the most expensive way of doing it. And the other one is, and another, the fifth point is, it is a time consuming process. So planning process is one of the time consuming process, because it takes a very long time to evaluate. So it so then alternative are selected, the best one. So so lot of time is needed for developing the proper premises. So because of that, the action might get delayed. So whenever there is a need for prompt and immediate decisions, then we need to avoid the planning. The another one is, the planning does not guarantee success. Means when plans which brought success in the past may fail in future. So last year's successful plan may fail in present year, because sometimes the managers, they have the tendency of the false sense of securities. They think that the plans which have worked last year very successfully and will bring the same success in the future also. So in such cases, the planning does not give a guarantee success. This I had explained to you in the class also. Whatever the plans they had made it earlier, that same method may not work in the future. So that is why business is uncertain. So we must try to keep changing the plans, so that it becomes creative. And that is why we need to give a mental exercise to our brain. So there is a tendency of the managers to rely on the past plans. So it is not true. If a plans have worked successfully in the past, it will bring success in the future also. So there are so many unknown factors which may lead to the failure of plan in the future. So plan only provides a base for analyzing future. It is not a solution for the future course of action. Let me repeat it again. Planning only provides a base for analyzing future, and it is not a solution for future course of action. And then the other one is lack of accuracy. So under the lack of accuracy in planning, we always thinking in advance. We always think in advance, and planning are concerned with futures only, and future is uncertain. We cannot guarantee. So that is why in planning many assumptions are made to decide about the future course of action. Another topic is planning process. So under that we'll be discussing about the setting up of the objectives, developing premises, listing the various alternatives for achieving the objectives, evaluating of different alternatives, selecting an alternatives, implementing the plans, and follow up. Planning process. The point number one is setting up of the objectives. Means it is the first step in the planning process is the setting up of objectives as a whole as for each department. Or you can say to ensure that goals are clearly defined and specified. So it is necessary that the planners they anticipate the problems that are likely to arise in the future. So if the end result is clear, then it becomes easier to work towards the goal. So setting up of the objectives is the first step of planning process, and the second one is developing planning premises. Means planning they are mostly concerned with the future which is uncertain. So the managers uh, the manager is required to make a certain assumptions of the future which are known as premises. Next is identifying alternative course of actions or listing the various alternatives for achieving the objectives. This means when the objectives are set and when the assumptions are made, then the next step would be to act upon them. There may be many ways like to act and achieve its objectives. So all the alternative course of actions should be identified. So when the course of actions which may not be taken could be either routine or innovative. Or you can say if the managers uh, make a list of alternatives through which the organizations can help or achieve its objectives, as there can be many ways to achieve the objectives, and the manager should or must know all the ways to reach the objectives. Like for example, if the objective is to increase in sale by 10%, then the sale can be increased like by adding more line of products or by offering discount or by increasing expenditures on advertisement or by increasing the shares in the market or by appointing salesmen for door to door sales. So managers may list out all the alternatives. Okay. Next is identifying or evaluating alternative course or different alternative. So under this, planning requires that each alternative course of action should be evaluated taking into facts about the positive and negative aspect of the planning. So all alternatives should be compared and evaluated with reference to cost, speed, risk, profits and enterprise's long-term objectives. And another one is selecting an alternatives. Means this is the real point of a decision making. The best plan has to be adopted and implemented. Another point is the ideal plan of course would be the most feasible, profitable and with least negative consequences. And sometimes a combinations of plans may be selected instead of one best course. So then the managers will have to apply permutations and the combinations which can select the best of the best possible course of action. Implementing the plans or implement the plans means this step are mainly concerned with putting the plans into action, that is doing what is required. Like for example, if there is a plan to increase the production, then more labor, more machineries will be required. So this step would also involve organizing for labor and purchase of machineries. And the last one is follow up action. Follow up action means after the implementations of the plan, the very next step is to review the existing plans periodically to ensure that there is a relevance and effectiveness. So once a plan is put into action as per the schedules, its monitoring is equally important. So in course of implementations, there might be many adjustments which may be required to achieve the given objectives. Okay. Next is types of plan: single use plan and standing plan. Single use plan and standing plan. Before that, we will be discussing what is plan and single use plan and standing plan, why it is necessary. So a plan means, you can also say an intentions or decisions about what one is going to do, or you can say decide on or making any arrangement in the advance. So now we will be discussing what is standing use plan and single use plan. It's written here very clearly: standing use plans are made for a long durations of time, like for example setting objectives of organizing, policies of organizations which will go for a longer period of time, because policies we cannot change it again and again. Another one is single use plan. So we can say it very easily that single means only once. So whereas single use plans are made for a very short durations of time, like for example programs of organizing sessions, budgets of organizations. So such plans are made only once. You can take a look at the picture. Single use plan means which are used only one time for the specific situations, and after the plans are used it is discarded. And durations, it depends upon the nature of the project, and new new plans are created every time in the single use plan. Next is standing plan in details. So standing plans are known as a repeated use of plans. So these plans, they mainly focus on the situations which occurs repeatedly again and again. So the standing plans are mainly used over and over again. They are made once but retain their values over a period of years. Although some revisions and updates are made, these plans from time to time. And some features are: these are returning plans used for an indefinite period. Okay, and these plans acts as a guidelines for a smooth functioning of the organization's procedures, policies and rules. Okay, so now the differences between the standing plan and single use plan are: under the basis period, they are formed for a very long period. Single use plan, they are formed for a short period and discarded when the assignment project is over. Basis, scope, understanding plan, they have a wide scope as they involve the whole organization in its scope. Single use plan, they have a narrow scope and they are formulated for a specific project or assignment or situation. So plans are made according to the specific projects. Under the basis, frequency of use, standing plans are repetitive in nature, whereas single use plans, they are only one time plan and not used for recurring the situation, or they are not repeated. Under the standing plan, examples: policies, procedures, method. So all these things it keeps repeating. Okay, and under the single use plan, the objectives, budgets, all these things, they have to make a decisions under one time plan. So such plans may not be repeated. So this was the explanations on the standing plans and single use plans, which comes under types of plans. Okay.